The air inside the docking chamber sizzled, almost like it knew something forbidden was about to happen. Princess Scialla stood motionless, towering above her royal guards. Her obsidian armor gleamed like liquid night under the alien suns. She had survived 3 wars, executed traitors with her own blade, and commanded legions with a flick of her golden claw. She had never hesitated. But now she blinked. Once. Twice. Her pulse betrayed her. Because the human just stepped off the transport ship and smiled at her. Not with fear. Not with the reverence her title demanded. Not even the subtle revulsion many species still held toward her race. No. He smiled like she was just a woman. And something inside her shifted. Captain Ryder Thorne stood out like rust on polished steel. Where the other humans wore pristine diplomatic blues, Ryder wore a scuffed black vest and boots dusted in asteroid ash. His grin had mischief behind it, his shoulders too relaxed for someone walking into a royal negotiation on a war-wounded planet. Scialla narrowed her eyes. That one. The small one with the scar, she said to her advisor in a low growl. Captain Ryder Thorne, Princess, the aide whispered. Assigned by Terran High Command as personal security. He has a reputation for improvisation. Scialla's lip curled. Humans call that recklessness. We call it weakness. But she couldn't look away. When Ryder approached the delegation, he bowed, but not deeply. Then, to her shock, he stepped forward and spoke directly to her. No offense, Your Highness, he said, voice deep and textured like cracked stone. But I thought you'd be taller. Her guards tensed. Swords drawn. Scialla's wings flinched behind her. Her breath hitched. And then, she laughed. It was short, surprised, dangerous. I am 9 feet tall, Terran, she said coolly. Would you prefer I kneel? His smirk deepened. No, Princess. Just figured your presence would be even heavier. That single sentence weighed heavier than any blade. The negotiation hall shimmered with interstellar light panels mimicking stars. Ancient tapestries of the obsidian matriarchy adorned the walls, depictions of honor, discipline, and death. But Scialla's mind was elsewhere. She watched Ryder from her elevated throne, watched how he leaned instead of sat, how he scratched his stubble during tense debates, how he never looked away from her. She wasn't used to being watched like a person. Later, in the crystalline corridor lined with psychic warding stones, she confronted him. You do not fear me, she said simply. Ryder shrugged. Why would I? She blinked, genuinely confused. I could snap your bones like reedgrass. End your breath in a blink. Yeah, Ryder said, stepping closer. But you haven't. Their eyes met, hers glowing violet, his storm gray. Neither flinched. I think you like that I don't flinch, he added. She shouldn't respond. Every protocol screamed distance, formality, cold authority. But instead, Scialla whispered, It's not common. He tilted his head. To be seen? She turned away. He had no idea how close he was to the truth. Later that night, Scialla stood before the sacred mirror in her private quarters. Her armor lay abandoned, her skin bare and glimmering with bioluminescent veins. She touched the hollow of her throat, where his gaze had lingered too long. She shouldn't have allowed it. Emotion was a liability. Desire was treason. She was heir to the obsidian throne. Her mate, if any, was to be selected through blood ritual and political alignment, not smiles and banter. But even now, her skin still tingled where he stood close. She looked in the mirror, and behind her reflection, saw a flicker of movement. She turned. Ryder stood just outside her balcony, backlit by moons. How had he bypassed the guards? Curiosity nearly got me spaced, he said quietly. But I had to know, do you always glow when you're angry, or just when you're beautiful? Her heart thundered. You're trespassing, she said, voice low and shaking. He stepped closer. Tell me to leave, and I will. She didn't. Because she couldn't. Instead, her voice came out hoarse. Touch me, and the right may trigger. The right? Ryder asked, blinking. She met his gaze with fire and fear. It's a bond, she said. If a human touches me with intent, the bond will awaken. Forbidden. Permanent. Dangerous. Ryder stared. And then, he lifted his hand. But just before his fingers brushed hers, a scream echoed through the palace halls. They turned at once, Zyala already reaching for her twin daggers. Her voice, now steel again. Stay close, human. Something's wrong. But inside her, everything was already breaking open. The scream had no language, just raw fear, ripped from the soul. It echoed through the obsidian corridors, shaking dust loose from walls that had stood for centuries. Zyala was already moving, her bare feet silent on the polished blackstone. Ryder followed without hesitation, shirt half-buttoned, weapon drawn. They ran side by side, an alien princess and a Terran soldier, toward chaos. And yet, even as her mind raced with protocol and danger, her skin still tingled where his fingers almost touched hers. A phantom warmth. A temptation not yet fulfilled. Whatever the scream had been, it had interrupted something far more dangerous than a simple attack. They reached the inner atrium. A young acolyte stood trembling, crimson eyes wide with horror, pointing to the wall. Blood, green and steaming, marked the ancient glyph of ancestry. Zyala stiffened. A ritual violation, she whispered. Someone defiled the sacred seal. Ryder squinted. Okay, that sounds serious. What's it mean for us? For me? She corrected. If it's tied to our clan, it's a political attack. If it's tied to you. She trailed off. The mark on the wall shifted, reacting to her presence. It pulsed once. Then, a second sigil ignited. Not hers. A human energy trace. Ryder stepped back. Wait. That's me? Zyala's breath caught. You touched me. Earlier. Ryder looked at her. Barely. But with intent. Her voice dropped, almost reverent, almost afraid. And that's all the rite needs? The green flame rippled between their sigils on the wall, merging, then flaring upward. Zyala closed her eyes. The rite of flame had begun. Zyala sat alone in the chamber of reflection, cloaked in ceremonial silks that itched her skin. Her body still burned, deep inside her chest, where the bond's energy now pulsed like a second heartbeat. The rite wasn't just ancient tradition. It was law, biology, prophecy, punishment. When a human touched an obsidian royal with desire unspoken, the flame activated. It forged a tether between two souls. Shared thoughts. Emotional echoes. Uncontrolled intimacy. The last time it happened, decades ago, a war erupted. And now? Now her pulse synced with a Terran soldier who had no idea what he'd just done. The door opened. Figured I'd find you here, Ryder said, leaning in with a mixture of casual defiance and something gentler beneath. You okay? Zyala didn't look up. You have no idea what you've triggered. He walked to her, slowly. Explain it to me, then. She stared into the reflection pool. The rite binds us. Not just emotionally. Psychically. It's not love. It's something primal. Sacred. Dangerous. I didn't mean to, he said softly. She finally looked at him. Intent doesn't change the outcome. Ryder crouched in front of her. So what now? You cut me loose? Burn the bond? Or do we figure it out? Zyala couldn't breathe for a second. You don't understand. This will change you. You'll feel me even when I'm not there. My rage. My sorrow. My desire. It will bleed into you. Ryder's voice was low now. Steady. Then let me bleed with you. The matron council gathered that night under the twin moons. Zyala stood before them, rigid and regal. Ryder stood behind her, quiet but resolute. Elder Varka spoke first. You have engaged the rite of flame with an outsider. A Terran. Against sacred decree. I did not choose it, Zyala replied. The bond chose us. The bond does not excuse betrayal of protocol. The head matron stepped forward. Then we must offer him the trial of severance. He walks the flame alone. If he survives, the bond breaks. If not, the problem solves itself. Zyala's heart dropped. No, she said. It's too soon. He hasn't even felt the connection yet. It has already begun, the matron said coldly. Or have you not noticed? Zyala turned to Ryder. Her lips parted, but he was already clutching his head. His breathing changed. His knees buckled. And from his mouth came a whisper not in his voice. Zyala, you're afraid. You still blame yourself for him. The general. The one before me. She staggered back. No. No, not yet. Ryder looked up, eyes flickering with her memories. He called you his fury. His flame. He died whispering your name. Zyala stepped forward, touched his face. Her hand trembled. Make it stop, Ryder gasped. Too much, all at once. Zyala whispered the ancient word that sealed the bond temporarily. The energy pulled back. Ryder collapsed into her arms. The matrons looked on. The eldest among them spoke gravely. The right has chosen. And the princess has felt it return. Prepare the trial. Zyala stared ahead, jaw clenched, her voice a vow through clenched teeth. If he walks the flames, I walk with him. The arena breathed like a living thing. Stone pillars pulsed with molten light. Ancient glyphs shimmered in the dust-heavy air, and far above, 1,000 alien voices murmured from the dark balconies, some curious, others bloodthirsty. The scent of sulfur and ceremonial oil hung thick like war perfume. Ryder stood at the center of it all, bare-chested, scarred, heart-pounding, facing a gate that groaned open like it hated him. Zyala watched from the high seat. Her ceremonial crown sat heavy on her skull, but the weight in her chest was worse. She hated this. Hated watching him stripped of weapons, honor, and choice. But he chose this. He volunteered. For her. For the right. The trial of bones wasn't meant to test skill. It was meant to strip a bonded human down to his instincts, to see if he could survive without help, without weapons, without understanding the rules. Because the creatures released into the arena weren't just monsters, they were memories. Forged from psionic ether and bone, they were echoes of fear, grief, lust, shame. Shaped by the bond between Ryder and Zyala. You shouldn't be down there, her mother whispered behind her. You're unraveling. Zyala didn't turn. And you never did. The first beast exploded from the gate, 12 feet tall, built like a nightmare, with Ryder's own face contorted in agony on its chest. It lunged. Ryder didn't run. He rolled beneath it, grabbed a shattered bone from the arena floor, and stabbed upward into its gut. The thing shrieked in psychic pain, and Zyala felt it, as if something inside her recoiled. Because it wasn't just a monster. It was his guilt, his memory of failure, his brother's face, twisted and wrong. She gasped. Her hand clenched the armrest. Ryder fought anyway. One beast fell. Another took its place. The second wasn't monstrous. It was her. But not truly. This specter walked like her, wore her armor, whispered with her voice. It mocked him. You think you understand her? You think touching her makes you worthy? Ryder hesitated for the first time. She'll use you. Like the last one. She'll watch you die like he did. Zyala stood. Protocol shattered like glass around her. This isn't right. That's not part of the right. But the matrons held her back. It's his trial. And that is his fear. The false Zyala circled Ryder. He didn't move. He listened. And then, he dropped his bone blade. He stepped forward. Into the illusion. Then let me die seeing her face. He whispered. Not yours. He wrapped his arms around the illusion. It screamed. Shattered. And in the psychic aftermath, Zyala felt his emotions slam into her. Love not yet spoken, pain not yet healed, need he couldn't say aloud. She staggered. Whispered his name. Ryder! He collapsed to one knee. Blood smeared his side. Sweat drenched his skin. But the gate was closed. The trial was done. Zyala tore off her crown. She didn't wait for permission. She ran barefoot down the stairs, ignoring gasps from the council and the guards. She knelt beside him. Ryder, look at me. His lips moved, cracked and dry. You were in there. Not you. But I heard your voice. Felt your memory. She cupped his face, trembling. You weren't supposed to survive this. No human has. He smirked. Guess no one told me. The matrons descended in silence. The head matron spoke solemnly. The rite is sealed. The bond is complete. You are no longer two souls. You are one flame. Zyala stood, eyes hard. Then we face the consequences together. Then hear them. The matron spat. You are no longer heir to the throne. You have chosen exile over duty. And your human, your bonded, is forbidden from setting foot in royal space again. A sharp breath from the crowd. Zyala bowed her head, then looked at Ryder. What do you say, human? She asked, voice soft but steel-edged. Will you follow a princess with no kingdom? He chuckled, then winced. As long as you promise to stop throwing monsters at me when you're mad. She smiled. No promises. He took her hand. She pulled him up. And together they turned from the council. But as they left the arena, a single matron whispered to herself. The last time a bond like this formed, a galaxy burned. The fire hadn't stopped. It lived beneath her skin now, coiled in her lungs, blooming behind her ribs. Zyala stared at the burning horizon as their skiff left the capital's outer rings behind. Smoke spiraled in the air like ghost serpents. Her city, once her birthright, shrunk in the distance, golden towers flickering like dying embers. Behind her, Ryder stirred. I dreamt you left without me, he said, voice husky with sleep and pain. She didn't turn. I almost did, she whispered. The skiff hummed softly as it skimmed across the crystal flats of Noctla, the borderlands where royal authority thinned and the wild silence began. Ryder sat up, clutching his side where the final trial wound had split open. Blood stained his undershirt. You didn't. No, she murmured. But I thought about it. Would have been easier. Cleaner. He smiled bitterly. Love usually isn't. She flinched. That word still felt alien in her mouth. Her kind didn't speak of love. They felt it as fire or war, never tenderness. You're not afraid of me anymore, she said quietly. Ryder leaned back, studying her. No. But I'm terrified for you. She looked over her shoulder, brows drawn. You think the council will come after me? I think you broke every sacred rule in a single heartbeat. I think you set a flame in a place that's allergic to warmth. And I think they'll try to snuff it out. Zyala's voice was barely a breath. Then let them try. Night fell like spilled ink over the flats. They made camp under a shattered moon, its fractured surface glowing like a cracked gem above them. Zyala gathered dried thundergrass while Ryder built a fire. The silence between them wasn't cold, it was full, brimming with unspoken things. When the fire was crackling, Ryder finally broke it. Tell me about him. She didn't need to ask who. My first bond, she said. His name was Kalen, a Terran general during the First War. We met on a ceasefire moon. He said my name like a vow. We were stupid. Brave. Brief. She paused. Her fingers trembled around the cup of water she held. He died protecting me. A sniper. My guards said he was reckless. That he stepped in front of me without hesitation. But I still wonder if it was me who killed him. Ryder's voice was soft, grounding. You still carry him. She nodded. And I feared if I touched you I'd lose you too. He reached across the fire, palm up. I'm still here. She hesitated. Then pressed her hand into his. And it flared, the bond pulsing bright, visible now as threads of bioluminescent light weaving between them. The flame. No longer dangerous. No longer unknown. Just real. They stood at dawn, staring at the horizon. An Imperial dropship hovered in the distance, low, black, and ominous. No insignia. Silent approach. A signal blinked red on Zyala's comm. They found us, she said flatly. Ryder rolled his shoulders. Figures. The one night I sleep well, someone wants to kill us. She turned to him, all armor and fury again. They won't take you. He stepped forward, putting a hand on her jaw, tilting her face up. I'm not afraid of dying, Zyala. But I won't let you burn alone. She shook her head. You don't understand what I'd become if they took you. What the bond would turn me into. A queen without a throne. A warrior with no war. Just rage. He kissed her. Not with desperation. With choice. Slow. Intentional. Binding. Then he whispered against her lips. Then don't let them win. She nodded once. Together, they turned to face the incoming threat. The skiff's defensive panels rose. Zyala slid her blades into her arms. This is where it begins. And ends? Ryder asked. She smiled with fire in her eyes. Only if we let it. Somewhere across the stars, a council whispered in fear. The flame has awakened. And it burns in two.